pick to be done if they're going to prove this is not going to be a 3-1 and they can take it all away.
Well, we move into the draft here for game number 3, and we'll see what the bans look like this time. So far, same from game number 1 when we had the teams on the same sides. The Maokai still being banned out here. Do we see Smolder a third time? And we do see the Tristana ban, which is very predictable coming into this game. But once again, Smolder and Ziggs both left up.
It's probably just going to be Smolder, Ziggs, Sejuani again. We'll just see if T1 change. I mean, presumably they take the Ziggs again. I don't see that changing. But I don't really see a reason why they wouldn't go to Sejuani, but maybe they're concerned about playing that into Peanut just slamming Poppy again. Nope, they'll just lock that in. And if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
We are just running it back. Game number 1 definitely felt a lot more Hanwha favored. Even there was a lot of back and forth, as in the last game. And yeah, why not?
It's important to note, they actually did the same order of bans as well. So this could just be a replay for all we know. You know, they're just matching the picks and bans exactly. But this is a change. Looking at a potential Corki pickup, this was banned in the second rotation by HLE. So T1 don't want to let that happen again. They will pick it up, secure a good matchup for Faker. It will lose them the Leona though.
It's also interesting that we saw the Smolder originally come out into the Corki specifically, right? So I have to see if Faker is going to be able to keep the Zeka on the back foot there. The Smolder in the last game ended up not having the impact that it needed to, right? And again, I think part of that is also because they were going with a double carry composition into a lot more threat on T1 side. And we have already moved away from that Caitlyn, which I do think is warranted. I liked it in game 1, but in game 3, this is a really big one. Being able to take momentum here is going to be absolutely huge. As the Bard actually respects ban, and I think after game 1, that's 100% warranted.
I think as well, they had to throw a ban towards the Jax, and the last time in game 1, they banned Alistar Rel. I feel like if you can't ban both, then
yeah,
kind of whatever. Banning the Bard, it means you know Delight's going to have a pick he's good at, but you know the sort of type of champion he's going to be on. You don't have to deal with the threat of the Bard, which was a problem for Guma on the Ziggs getting picked out. Now, presumably they want to give counter pick to Zeus, so I guess Carrier just takes the Alistar and presumes that Delight will take the Rel into it because he's so confident on the pick. Maybe we could see Delight going for the Rakan as well, but there's so much AoE on T1 that I think that might be a bit risky.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see what Hanwha Life Esports will round out this draft with, and we'll see if we get a bit more of a spicy counter pick for Zeus in the top lane. I'm not really hoping for, you know, Jax Snar. The Jax obviously taken away this time. Rakan being looked at here for Delight. So Jhin, Rakan, nope. Just gonna go back to, no. Thinking about it. Rakan or Rel, what's it gonna be, Delight?
I think Rakan has an easier time in this situation. A lot of things that can interrupt between the Sejuani, the Satchel, and the Alistar. The concern is you are squishy, but with the Warmog's rush that we've seen a lot of times for Rakan, you are a bit bulkier, but there's a lot of AoE. If you fall behind, you can just get one shot when you're trying to go in.
Seemed to be an issue before. The light on Rakan goes back all the way to the Brionne days, where he was a large part of why their team fighting was as good as it was, as the cannon being looked at here. I like the Renekton a lot more. I know that Renekton is not
a Vayne though. You know, we've seen this before.
It could happen, but I feel like the reason why we saw Nessus originally is because if you pick it into Cannon just doesn't get to do a lot. We've also seen the Vladimir, which hasn't been very successful. But what if we?
It's just Zeri. Well, it's Zeri top, right? Because Zeus has done this before. He did this at EWC as well.
Yeah? What?
He was like, yeah, no, this is just good. And it could be Corki top, as you mentioned. But yeah, I mean, this seems like Hanwha Life Esports should have known that this is coming, especially into T1.
Yeah, I think the Corki top makes sense. He's got a bit more early trading power to keep the Renekton at bay. You know, we've seen Zeri and a Smolder a lot of times. This feels similar in ways, not the same as the comp we saw from T1 against KT when it was Sejuani plus a bunch of range champs. They do swap back, so Zeri in the top lane, wanting, I guess, a bit more mid-pressure. Corki has more early pressure compared to the Zeri.
I feel like Zeus is a better Zeri. Maybe he has like more experience on it. I don't know. He just looked very comfortable on Zeri when I saw him play as well. So
yeah, I think honestly I'm a little bit concerned for the side of Hanwha Life Esports in the situation. You're going to struggle in terms of top pressure, bot lane. You know, we've seen the Ziggs obviously be a menace as he gets further into the game. it came down to Peanut. I feel like him being the early instigator in that game 1, and I'm not sure he has as much freedom to do so in this matchup without the support of things like the Jax from Doran and the Bard from Delight.
Yeah, we're going to have to see. If Peanut doesn't find some early pavings, maybe if they're able to stack a couple of waves in either top or bot, crash that while Peanut's there, get an early lane lead going, I think it's going to be quite tough for Humble Life. This draft doesn't give me the confidence that the last 2 did. We're going to see if T1 will be able to get up to a lead here.
I mean, as well, often when you have a smaller, you're confident to go late, but into Zeri, Corki, Ziggs, good luck.
It's going to be an interesting one. Maybe a lot of scaling in this game number 3. Let's hop into the Rift and find out what happens.
하나 생명! 하나, 둘, 셋!
T1 하나, 둘, 셋!
Fans are out here in force at the Gangju Indoor Stadium, and it has been, I feel like it's already delivered a bit more than I expected, and I'm going to be happy to see just how far this is going to go. They're going to give that ward over to Doran. Might make that early laning phase a little bit easier.
Yeah, I think we often see like the kind of rock, paper, scissors situation top where, you know, supports will go top, place a ward down. Sometimes you'll see teams baiting to try and deny that. Here, Delight goes up with a sweeper, so he'll clear out the ward. Especially playing like a Renekton into a Zeri, vision control of that middle brush is really important in making the matchup slightly less painful.
I also really like the PTA here. We're going to get the most value out of that, right? Try and go for those short trades, longer trades against Zeri. She is just going to be able to kite you out. Nothing too crazy outside of that. Do note, though, that Viper is playing Cleanse, which, again, I think makes a lot of sense when you're playing into the Sejuani, allows you to step up a lot more. But we've seen so many triple TP on either side in this series that might be a pivot. We'll see how him and Delight are able to use that. He was well here for Delight. Into Carrier's Ignite can always feel a little bit rough.
Early on, Carrier just going to headbutt them away and say, please don't attack us. Ziggs doesn't do much at level 1.
Yeah, it's also phase rush from Carrier, so he can't even kind of leverage Aftershock in this situation. You can see Delight and Viper doing a good job of really pushing them away, zoning them out, and not letting them contest at level 2. One of the weaknesses of Alistar really is just not having too much presence at level 1.
Meanwhile, a knock-up and a bunch of damage into Carrier. This is, you know, they're supposed to dominate early on, but this is getting a little bit out of hand as Carrier's going to have to back already.
Look at that. Look at that. Immediately, Peanut was on his way to his topside jungle, has completely diverted his pathing. We'll see what he's able to get out of it. Guma does obviously still have the TP available, but this should come as a surprise, and I think that T1 might have a suspicion. Maybe Peanut just steals a buff, but it could be so much more as he does get spotted here.
Yeah. And even his presence is going to be big. They can put on that pressure. You remember Owner was able to do this on the Nidalee in game 2, and it does look like maybe just a jungle camp, a Gromp going over to Peanut. It doesn't look like T1 will try to stick around for too long, although Guma does get rooted, but not going to go diving just yet.
That's getting used as well. We'll see if Owner actually is allowed to take his buff. Does have smite advantage, but he just can't walk up. We'll see. Doesn't have a ward, so can't get vision into the brush easily.
Yeah, he's just going to get flashed on. He plays with fire, and now he's not able to get over the wall, as it is Poppy after all. That's first blood given over to Peanut already.
Really nicely played, and you see the knock-on effect that Peanut capitalizes on here. Oh, fake. I think would win out in the extended trade there, but Zeka definitely giving some fire back. But as I was saying, you know, Peanut reacts to a trade gone wrong for T1 in the bot lane. You know, Viper and Delight should have pressure, but Carrier makes a mistake, ends up getting chunked. Peanut is instantly like, okay, time to capitalize on this. Leans in to punish, and not only gets to steal away a camp, but killing Owner, finding the window to punish. Is really well played and shows why Owner was so successful the last time these two matched up.
Yep, you note that this is the first time we're seeing top Zeri in the LCK specifically. We did see it at EWC, as I mentioned before, and it was Zeus that pulled it out. So it just makes sense that he is back on the pick here once again, debuting it in the LCK.
As unsurprisingly, Peanut already spending a ton of time in the enemy jungle is going to be spotted here, but Carrier is roaming up. We'll see if that alone is enough to maybe try and steal back a camp. You're going to have to steal a lot, but top lane Prio firmly in Zeus's control. Diving a Renekton is always going to feel a bit rough. Almost has the E and W available.
He's
Ice
not.
cold.
Oh, wow. Oh, he's going to stick around. Peanut is here. But T1's nearly their entire team is up on the top side, but they're going to abandon ship as, you know, some low levels and a lot of members of Hanwha Life Esports are around.
Yeah, I think diving Renekton when he's that low, not too hard, but when the Poppy and Rakan show up, it's definitely time to get out. And they know that Ona has a smite advantage, so they want to look for the kill angle. He does secure it with the smite, but the W from Peanut to block the dash is what allows them to get the kill in return. Really well played.
Seen Peanut do this countless times. Follow-up is there with Delight. And it's, again, it's that willingness to just be like, okay, I was pathing for bot to top, but it doesn't matter. I'm going to divert my attention to where it is most needed, something where Peanut really shows his experience. We've seen, particularly against a lot of the less experienced junglers in the LCK, not owners specifically, but people like Lucid, people like Raptor, that they're a lot more
Rigid.
Yeah, a lot more rigid in how they move around the map and how they look at the lanes and what it means for where to go.
I think obviously with the fact that lanes exist, you know, you're kind of to a degree locked in a bit, but jungle has so much flexibility, and it's always great when we see someone capitalize on something that wasn't necessarily expected, but just happened to occur in the game. Now, Peanut is leading towards the Grubs, and should be setting up for that. We'll probably see a trade with Ona going towards the Dragon in return.
We'll see if he can set this up. I mean, Delight's about to face check him. Keria around as well. Keria's still level 3. Delight is up a level, and Viper just pushed in the bottom wave. So they're denying the Drake while also, and now we got a 1v1 on the top side. Doran trying to lock down Azeri. Not an easy task, but he knows that, you know, the enemy jungler's bot, and he's got Peanut on top side. Yeah,
the fact that Zeus is just sitting on steel caps and it felt like he didn't take a lot of damage there, actually being, it's pretty rough for Doran because that's a pretty big investment. And Zeus still has TP.
We're diving.
Oh yeah.
Peanut?
Aria's here.
Maybe he pulled that back at the last second. That looks kind of awkward as Keria shows up and Peanut says, well, actually, never mind.
I think honestly, we're seeing T1's lanes struggle a decent amount. The fact they weren't able to trade the Grubs with the Dragon, the fact that HLE were able to force them off, obviously looks a little rough. We're getting supports just laning mid, and it feels like they're trying to trap Faker here. Faker without TP, low on mana. Don't want to give him a window to reset, and going to capitalize on that. Viper's got Prio in the bot lane, Guma also low on mana, and that's going to secure the first Dragon for HLE. So Grubs and Dragon, really solid for them.
Snowball coming out here early here for Hanwha Life. I do think that this game is fundamentally different from what we had before, because yes, as you mentioned, even with the Smolder, there is so much raw firepower on the side of T1 with a very reliable front line as well. So shouldn't be the end of the world, but still going behind in Dragons early on doesn't end up making a really big difference in this series as the Cloud Drake comes through and Ocean next.
It feels like we've just constantly had the first couple of Dragons have been like the weaker souls.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of Chemtech, a lot of Ocean early on.
Where's that Chemtech Drake Ox?
We'll see.
Hasn't shown up just yet. We do have Ocean on the way for the second one. And we have 3 strong souls left over in Mountain, Infernal, and Hextech. And then we also have Chemtech, which exists. But we'll see which one we do get in this game, as it definitely played a pretty clear role in Game 2 especially, that soul. Also the fact that Hanwha Life Esports got Infernal Soul by the end of game number 1.
Do have a lane swap coming through here for Viper and the Live. T1 did in fact read it. I'm pretty sure Guma also hasn't used his TP yet in this game. Does now have the Lost Chapter. Sitting on a double tier is T1 as well, so makes sense that they'd be looking to, at the very least, get a first item before they try and aggress a little bit more. But letting Peanut just run the map is always going to be a bit a big risk, as that is where he excelled the most. And I think particularly with the ability from Poppy to secure objectives with such a higher level of guarantee is not a champion that you want to fall behind on when it comes to Dragon, if we do get, indeed, a big soul coming up.
I find it so funny that like HLE swapped top, and the second they saw Guma and Keria there, they're like, no, we don't want this. We're gonna swap. And then look at the recalls now on the map. They're just trying to dodge each other, and T1 want to hang out. They want like even lanes, and HLE just keep opting out of it and swapping back to match.
Yeah, they want to, I'm pretty sure, just keep Zeus in this matchup against the Renekton, right? Because in the 1v2, I think the Renekton is going to feel a lot harder to dive, a lot more reliable than the Zeri would be. Life is still getting great trades though, because they're the ones that are ahead on the tempo, right? They're the ones that are pushing in the waves, and then it's T1 responding. And I kid you not, Orcs, I know the grubs are coming up, but it's this time it looks like we're sending Zeka towards the bot wave, but still moving Viper, Doran, and Zeka all over the map. Possible catch here.
It's just interesting you track, like,
Yeah, Doran in a bit of trouble. He's going to get slowed up. He's still connected with Dominus and Flash, so he's actually totally fine.
You track in like the last 2.
Yeah, that's the catch on a Faker. He is so dead in this one. He is able to Valkyrie the wall and Flash actually, so maybe he's totally fine. Did have to expend a lot to get out of there, but now he's out of the fight, and that should be grubs over to HLE.
Viper tried to ult him. Carrier cancelled it immediately so that they couldn't get the catch on Faker.
And it happened the moment with the Jhin reloading, dropping the bullet.
No!
Wasn't able to finish off Faker. I think the rest of the team were like, well, he's dead. Viper's there. And ran out of ammo.
Yeah, TP coming in, and now this is about to get really scrappy. The ult goes in onto the light, but now the charm coming in. They turn immediately onto Zeus, who is so low, but he gets over the wall. And now Owner in a bit of trouble. But we got the flank coming in from Faker, and Guma and Carrier looking for a bit more. A lot of low health bars, but Zeus finally goes down to the queue of the Smolder, and Carrier just trying to give up his life, just trying to frontline for the team, but Zeka's just able to run forward. They deny the pummel. He is not able to get anything. It's another kill to the Smolder, and T1 are just on the run. They can't quite get away. Nearly able to take out Viper, but it's just a third kill over to Zeka Smolder.
This beautiful execution there from T1, immediately punishing Zeus as soon as the fight starts, and then from then on out, it felt like HLE had this structured move where they just immediately collapsed down onto Zeus, who dashed away. After taking him out, they then moved towards the rest of the team. 1 HP, it went to there, and he shows the emote.
Yeah, Peanut's not going to be too sad about that one. Yeah, big disaster there for T1. Those are the type of fights where if they go your way, can end up being a really big boon, but instead, so much damage here feels like it's kind of all over the place, whereas Life all on the same page. Everything into Zeus, he gets taken out of the fight, and then without Owner, it feels like the front line is so lacking.
And look at how they reset the aggro here. Zeka wants to finish off Zeus, so they all pull away, and as soon as the kill's secured, they all push back in as a unit, and they're like, Zeka, you have the most HP, you go first.
We got Zeus in a lot of trouble here. He's been denied by Peanut so many times, and you know, these times I'm like, oh, he's in a lot of trouble. They just keep getting away. As Zeus will be rooted down, but now we got the engage coming in from Carrier. As in goes the light, just trying to save Peanut, who is so low. And even the Poppy will be taken out eventually. T1 able to get that, but here comes big boy Zeka looking for a little bit more. He is so fed in this game already.
You really got to be careful with that Smolder. In this situation, normally not the strongest, but if you have Drive for Spike, if you're this far accelerated, obviously still going to get a ton of value. And T1, they were able to get some kills there, but they also had to rotate over Guma towards the top side to respond to Zeka. And Faker also in the vicinity, which means that Doran again just gets to spend some alone time with this turret, with his Demolish, so end up getting down a ton of damage here towards the bottom half of the map.
Yeah, 5 grubs as well, so they actually do a lot of damage to these structures. So HLE make a mistake, bit of an overstep that they do get punished for, but the impact isn't that big, they don't lose that many members. And now this pressure's continuing onto these structures. Feels like HLE just getting more and more. It's already a 2,000 gold lead, and with a lot of that gold being on Zeka, it definitely feels good.
Where's my emote, Peanut? Come on. He always drops the ping.
Poppy always trolls herself as a champion because you're like, oh yeah, I'm just going to hit this. Oh wait, I had Buckler up. And you just outrange it. Here comes Peanut. He's going in, and he's got a big crocodile right behind him. Owner and Faker just trying to split up, but they are pretty deep into this turret. They're going to keep Owner around it, and I think, yeah, Mom's got some scolding to do. Zeal will come in, but Owner not able to do quite too much, as finally the last Q comes in, and Zeka will pick up a 4th kill.
Not able to get anything there. Zeka getting further and further ahead.
First
turret's going to go down as well. The gold lead now starting to become an even bigger deal. About 3K here for HLE. There is an answer for T1 on the flip side of the map again. When it comes to scaling, I think they have a lot of power, but Owner, unfortunately, did end up saving his teammate, but does have to pay the price himself.
And honestly, credit to Doran for really after a laning phase, it looked very unenjoyable. Just finding the impact in these skirmishes on the Necton to keep himself in the game, keep himself relevant. Actually finishes first item before Zeus does.
Oh, Eternal Soul again.
Yeah, that's a big one, especially with Smolder, Jin, and HLE already having 2 dragons in the bag. Like, Carrier will just headbutt the light. Didn't really achieve much, but he's sending a message.
Yes. Speaking about sending a message, they look to send one here on a Viper. And eventually does go down. Sticking around a little bit too long for that top turret.
Ends up giving kill over to T1, meaning that at least Guma can feel a little bit better about his situation. But this to me feels very similar to what was happening in game number 1, where Peanut and the Light are setting the pace of this game, right? They're the one that are always proactive, always moving around, getting to side lanes first. And it means that T1 is just only responding, not able to use the pushing power of the Ziggs the way that ideally you'd want to. Not really getting that counter matchup in top, actually getting any value out of it, right? Zeus is a level down. The Humble Life just continuously been swapping, so that the Zeri isn't in a situation to abuse the fact that she's a ranged top laner into melee.
And Ona's having a rough time.
Yeah.
Kind of reminiscent of that previous series we saw between those 2 teams, where Peanut just kind of ran the rift. And it feels like in this game, it kind of came as a bleed out from that misplay bot where Carrier got chunked into the invade, into Ona going down, and just snowballed from there. Now, setting up the Herald, do you want to contest though?
They kind of want to contest. Faker's CPing in onto this one, and Doran is going to be forced to flash away, but now the fight comes out, and the Zeri from the top side will be pushed all the way into the jungle, actually. Zeus not able to join the fight. But now Carrier, bit of an awkward spot. He is still an Alistar with flash and ult. See how long this journey goes. Looks like he's just going to accept his fate. And Humble Life Esports will also accept a kill with that one. And that will be another one that goes over to Zeka, making him 5-0.
They also got the Herald. So, free kill. You're going to give a one bot side outer, but that's obviously not going to be the end of the world. Even more gold going over to Zeka, who just gets spoon-fed these kills. And that's, again, I think Peanut being the difference maker. That fight looked a bit rough. Carrier actually splitting it up nicely. If Zeus is there, the extra damage from the Zeri can really be a big difference maker.
Feels like Humble Life Esports have this game managed really well. Will be a trade of these turrets, obviously saw that one go down bot. Zek will pick one up top and just get even more gold.
Yeah.
He is so fed right now. Over 1,000 gold ahead of the person in second place, which is Zeus. This is the fact he already has the Manamune finished and it's not fully stacked. Very far ahead in this one. And this, you know, they had Zeus on this flank angle, but he obviously threatened a bit by Zeka, can't really get much damage. And most of the damage from T1 went in on the frontliners. And they do get Doran low, but he doesn't go down, and it feels like a lot was burned for not much value. Carrier was on this flank, but didn't get to make use of it. And now with the Herald, they take mid-tier 1 and just further open up the map.
Yep. Peanut just going to throw out an ult, or rather an emote, and he's just going to run away from that one, go into his jungle and just farm. But, you know, you talked about the gold lead for Zeka. We've seen guys like Aiming, you know, get very far ahead on gold and really stack up the gold, but he's also stacking his stacks, his Dragon Training. He is up at 190 already, 18 minutes into the game. So this isn't just, oh, I've got a lot of gold and I'm sitting in the bot lane not really interacting. It's, I've got 5 kills, I'm super far ahead, and I have 1 million stacks. Nobody really answers him right now.
I mean, that's the thing, is that you obviously get stacks from farming on Smolder, but you can get a ton of stacks from fighting as well. If you get like a big ult or a W, it's multiple people. So yeah, Zeka is quickly going to become a problem. And, you know, we said
200.
There's a lot of late game threats on T1, but when the Smolder is this strong, I think it's going to be difficult to have answers to him, because if people are body blocking the Sejuani ult, if Carrier isn't allowed access because of the Poppy, Zeka could just keep firing Qs, and especially he's going towards rapid fire third, he'll have the range to do it as well.
The one advantage, or rather opportunity for T1 that I do think is that eventually the only front line is Poppy, and I know Poppy is really tanky, but up against Zeri, up against Corki, and even though Guma isn't going like a tank shredding build, eventually the Ziggs, they are going to have enough damage, or even if he does tank an ultimate, they should be able to blow him up. The problem is, are we going to get to a point where like Zeus has 3 items, Faker has 3 or 4 items, Guma's sitting on a death cap as well? Because right now, if these Drakes start stacking up, if Humble Life gets this one, if this and this attempt at, oh, it can't fail. They need to get it.
Uh-oh, Faker, yeah, he's going to be slowed up, and now you've got the whole team body block.
Oh!
They knock away, and they snipe the Corky! Insane play from Hanwha and from Peanut to set it up, and that should be the drink going into their hands as well.
That should be Soul Point. Peanut just sets it up. That second shot crucially hitting ends up being the main difference maker. Faker doesn't have flash. Is it a desperation Baron?
There's no way.
There's no way that we do that.
I think they're going to threaten, they're going to establish vision, but there's no way they do. But that was so slick from HLE. The pressure was there already. It was already a good play to force Faker away, but to get the kill was just some absolute magic there from HLE. And now 3 dragons in, 4,000 gold. They're feeling good.
I mean, what else can you ask for, really? It's at this point, they're just kind of sailing into the mid to late, and yeah, I think that Kronny's point is relevant. If we go super late, you know, the Zeri's going to be online, the Zig's going to be online, you've got a Corky as well, but
If
they get there, and also Hum Life Esports are so far ahead right now.
Yeah, and also the if was somewhat contingent on T1 getting this dragon.
Yeah.
Which didn't happen, unfortunately. So I feel a lot worse about my argument.
Let's take another look.
Oh, cinematic view as well? Oh.
Even the bomb on his head, he doesn't care.
The fact you get, because if you only get one frontliner, it's irrelevant because the other one will block. And the shot alone wasn't enough to kill him. The ult from Zeka as well. I mean, all 3 of them just in unison. Peanut lines them up, and Zeka and Viper knock him down.
And again, I think it's that second shot where the frontliner were still there, and still they were able to hit Faker. That was the difference maker. Could have been alive otherwise, not the case. And now How Alive, they're running the map. We'll see if they're going to proactively set up this Baron, because they have the damage, and with the Poppy, the positioning of T1 needs to be very crisp. We saw in game number 1 they were able to get basically a miracle Baron and find their way back into the game this time, so maybe Hum Alive don't want to take the risk, but I feel like it's hard for T1 to really contest.
And Zay's gone experimental Hex Plate, which we did see way back on Zay.
I remember that item.
That hasn't been a thing for a while.
Yeah.
Obviously gives a lot of power once you've used your ult initially. Does make you a bit bulky as well, but in terms of leaning towards like the late game crit Zeri, you're going to be a long way away. So feels like maybe investing more into power now, which I think makes sense for T1 because they need any power they can get. Zeka will now have enough stacks, and with him online, HLE is set up around Baron. They can look for something, but if they don't find an angle, they have Dragon in 2 minutes 40, and look at what T1 are doing. This is when you know the game is in a rough spot, and I think this is the right call, but they're starting to go for plays that might look a bit desperate, trying to find picks on isolated members, and HLE sniffed them out.
Yeah, Peanut's going to use the engage code, and Faker, and they don't even know about Carrier.
Are they going to TP?
Might get a little bonus Carrier here. That's a lot of damage, and yeah, Carrier does go in, but Faker, they finally deal with him. Down he goes, and Carrier is, in fact, the bonus Carrier that I did mention. So down he'll go, and now we have very awkward Guma, who TP'd into this fight. He is free as well. You talked about desperation. That one definitely looked desperate. Hum Life Esports will clean it up easily.
Complete decimation. Zeus' TP gets cancelled as well by Doran. So the secret of Carrier doesn't really end up helping them. The Zeri won 2 item spikes, can't join them. And Hum Life is going to take this Baron, and there's nothing that anyone on T1 can do about it.
I mean, just really well played from HLE. The thing is, that play is going to look like what a T1 doing, you know, but in this situation, they are really far behind. They kind of have to go for something desperate. But it's just a really good job from HLE. Sniffs them out. And then T1 are like, look, if we lose Faker, Baron's probably gone. We have to try. But they're in such a bad spot. Faker just dies, essentially, to the damage already done to him, and Peanut finish him off. Kerry is locked in. He tries to get to Light, and then Guma's like, well, I'm dead. Let's try and ult the Light. And isn't able to secure that kill either. It could have just been one pick, but that probably would have been Baron anyway. They try to make something off it, and it just backfires and gets worse.
Yeah, I'm also looking at it. Maybe Zeus should have been happy. Like, I think by the time he arrived, I don't know if...
Uh-oh, another play here. Guma's in a lot of trouble. Can they take him down is the question. The grenade goes flying, but he will live with that flash. And now an opportunity for T1 to turn this one around, but this is so tanky. He's got the Warbox finish, and now he goes back in, and he's frontlining. There's the Nagamana Faker. Down he'll go. Doran diving the turret. Zeka is a massive dragon at this point, and they will just dive on in and decimate the rest of T1. Keria goes down. It's a triple for the Smolder. And that might just be it. I mean, how will Live Esports find another massive fight?
Should just be game end here. HLE with the most crushing victory we've had this series. Once again winning on blue side. Guma going to try what he can, but there's no way he defends against 5 here.
Yeah, he's trying desperately to clear the way, but there's not much that he can do. Down he goes, he trades for Delight, but he will not trade Nexuses. How will Live Esports will take down game number 3 and retake the lead in this series 2-1.
And you can see, blue side is an edge, absolutely. You knew that. It's been blue side wins all this series. The way in which HLE won, by far the most decisive game, and with how back and forth game 2 was for T1, it's looking worrying. T1 need to come back from this, they need to bounce back, they need to answer, but that game was rough throughout.
And right now, there are a bunch of things that need to be done for T1. First, they need to win the game on blue side. And I think that, given how the game 1 and 2 played out, that's doable. But in game 5, they not only will they be on red side, but they got to swap something up. We can't keep going into this Smolder, into this Poppy, because it is just proven to be a trade that you're not winning. And if they don't adapt, Humble Life are going to finally end the dominance of T1 versus Gen G, the biggest rivalry that we've had in the LCK in the modern era.
And we've said constantly that red side is in a rough spot this season because it's so sparse on bans. But against Peanut, Maokai ban, Vi ban, Feels Force, Rumble's a given. And Peanut still pops off this game and dominates the early game. I don't think that leaving open like Maokai for Peanut is the right decision at all. But it feels like they're sending 2/3 of the bans towards him, leaving the Smolder open, and then still getting gapped by Peanut. There doesn't seem to be a good answer, but it's definitely looking rough right now, and Peanut showing up once again.
There's just too many things that he can play, and there's too many OP stuff right now, too many OP champs, and Humble Life Esports are finding ways to utilize them to the next degree. And they take the lead in the series. They're 2-1. T1 on the doorstep. We'll see if they can come back in this one, or will it be a Humble Life victory? We'll be right back.
아니 상관이 없어. 나 여기 새로 왔는데 이거 커버 좀 해줘.
야 맞아.
커버해줘. 쌍각 좋거든.
가능.
야 쌍 보자. 샌드도 노플이야. 그렇게 발길이 끊겼어. 그렇게 발길이 끊겼어. 쌍 보자. 야 직스도 노플. 제니. 제트도 노플. 직스도 노플. 되냐? 다 끝내자. 자 죽냐? 오케이.
한 라인 더 와. 제트 노플이야. 멈춰있지 마 이거. 어머 피채우죠. 내가 슬라. 스물더 1대1 하러 가. 내가 할게.
내가 사선 돌아줄게.
자.
야 내가 지금 밀어줄게.
알리 집중. W 왕관 W.
더블 있어. 여기 아래 끊어줄게. 나이스.
나이스.
한판 잘하자.